Today on the Bass Channel, we're checking out the Midtown Standard by none other than Gibson. To my little mini series about Gibson instruments, aptly titled Gibson A Go-Go. It's been a little bit since the last one, but I'm shooting like 4 today, so if you do like this type of content, there's a bit more to come in the near future. So like I said, this is the Midtown Standard. This specific model was built in 2013, and it is obviously the cherry finish. Everything on this particular bass is stock other than the strings, which I've put the Labella low tension flats on because it just kind of felt like it fit the vibe a little more. But everything from the tuner to the nut to the frets to the strap pins to the pickups to the bridge is 100% original. So from headstock to strap pin, let's talk about what all of those components are. First of all, interesting thing to note is that the Gibson logo up top is silk screened instead of inlaid. That generally indicates that it's like kind of the studio line or a slightly cheaper line. But turning it around to the back of the headstock, you have what you'd expect to see, the big old vintage style Clover, that was an inadvertent rhyme, tuners. And one of my favorite features, one that I think should be standard on all Gibsons with tilt-back headstocks, which I believe is all Gibsons, because I don't know if any of them have straight headstocks, but either way, it's this volute back here, which just gives you a little bit of mass at that tilt to protect the headstock from breaking if it, for some reason, falls backwards. And of course, gives people less opportunity to use the detachable headstock joke. Binding over frets along the neck, as well as binding on the body, not on the headstock, of course, because this isn't really a custom, it's a standard. It's got dot inlays. Obviously the back of the neck is finished in nitro. It's all mahogany. It's a semi-hollow design, but the top is flat instead of the classic arch top of like the 335. It's got a set neck. It's got rear access controls, which is actually a really nice touch for semi-hollow stuff, because on the ones that don't have the rear cavity, it can be a pain if you ever need to swap a pickup or fix a pot or anything of that nature. I had a friend who said that the reason they're called F-holes is because you can only say F when you're trying to change these out. course, in keeping with most of Gibson's bass fashions, we've got a mudbucker and a mini humbucker, which is not actually accurate. This isn't really a mudbucker. These are both TB Plus pickups. They're just in that shape of a housing. Now, with the mini hum and the bridge, of course, it is a smaller physical dimension, so it's a little different, but for all intents and purposes, these are TB Plus Thunderbird pickups. But the thing that I found interesting about this model, again, this is a 2013. I have two SG basses over here. One's a 2015 and one is a 2021. They have the same pickups. It's the mudbucker and the mini hum. But they're both TB plus, is that in the SG bases, they always list it as being a ceramic neck and an Alnico bridge. I think the 2015 is Alnico 2, and the 2021, I believe, said Alnico 5. Either way, whatever the spec is, the 21 sounds different. Then there's another video about that if you want to check it out. Those two SG bases do sound different, and I think a lot of it has to do with the bridge. But this one, according to all the stats and specs and information that I can find available on the internet, the neck pickup is an Alnico 2 and the bridge pickup is ceramic. Now again, 2013, 2015, 2021, it seems odd and counterintuitive that they would put the ceramic in the bridge where it's already going to be thinner and brighter, and put the Alnico 2, which is going to be naturally a little bit warmer, in the neck position. So I wonder if maybe they learned from this experiment and flipped them. Now that being said, tonally speaking, the tone of this pickup and the tone of this pickup aren't tremendously different than the SG. I have noticed, however, that this one is significantly louder than this one, as you can see in this example. But other than for the volume difference, the kind of tonality, particularly the tonality of the neck pickup, isn't really dramatically different than the SG bass. Of course, this is a long scale at 34 inches, which I forgot to mention earlier. This is a standard long scale, whereas the SG basses are 30.5. This is 34. SG bass has ceramic in the neck. This has Alnico 2 in the neck. It's not tremendously different. But rounding out the specs and features and technical stuff, you got a single volume, a single tone, and a three-way pickup selector. It's always fun to see a three-way pickup selector. I know that they're a little less versatile than double volume or a blend, but they're just fun. And finally, of course, as Gibson was known to do around this era, is the Babix, or Babich, however you want to pronounce that. I'm gonna get it wrong, just like a USB. No matter which way you plug it in, it's the wrong way. This bridge, the full contact hardware bridge. I've never had a problem with it. I actually like the bridge. I only have two. I for some reason thought I had three. So now I guess I have two basses with that bridge, and I have two basses with the hip shot version. I will say that I think I like the aesthetic of this one a little bit better with some of its curves and angles and that sort of thing. I just think it looks better from far away, but functionally speaking, they are different, this and the hip shot, but they're not different enough to say that one performs better than the other. I like both. I have both. I wouldn't swap this one for the hip shot, and I wouldn't swap the hip shot for this one. That almost became a tongue twister. They're both fine. So to wrap this video up, overall, I think this bass is awesome. It looks really good, it feels really good, it sounds really good. It's a vibe, it's a jam, it's a thing, it's a whatever word you want to use. There is one glaring problem with it that I haven't figured out yet how to fix, and it's a problem that's not uncommon amongst Gibson basses. However, the difference in this one versus the other bass that has this problem is the dead E string, right? So you got the E's a smidge quieter, but when it's unplugged, for all intents and purposes, the strings sound the same. They have more or less the same volume. This one doesn't sound dead. However, when it's plugged in, the three high strings, the A, D, and G, sound phenomenal. There's just all of that. Everything that you think this bass would sound like is totally there. It sounds awesome. The E string is dramatically, significantly, and annoyingly quiet. It's like it's gone. I had a friend come over and he was playing some Johnny Cash tunes, you know, that kind of stuff. And anytime you'd go to the E, which you'll hear in a second, like the volume drops by like half. So because the problem isn't really there when it's not plugged in acoustically.
Oh, I love this song.
Then that leads me to believe it must be the pickup. So I took this cover off to investigate, and lo and behold, it's a T-Bird pickup. It's not the Sidewinder like you'd expect. I think what's happening is that when you pluck the string, at least me, I have a tendency to pluck it upward towards me, not down and not out, but up. So when I pluck it up, the string actually seems like it falls outside of the magnet and the magnetic field. So the first half of its travel from release isn't really being picked up with as much propellers as the other three strings are. Because, you know, naturally on the G, if I'm pulling it up, it's going towards the middle. Towards the middle, this one is still fine. And this one falls out. But if I'm gonna do, which I don't do because it's really uncomfortable, but like playing with your thumb, you know, the sting thing, now all of a sudden the E is right on par, and especially if you play with a pick, which I do often, then you got no problem. So I'm more comfortable with a pick. Half of the time that's not a problem, but there are times when you do want more of a finger style jam, and if you do, the E string isn't quite gonna hang with you. So if you're playing this or something with a mudbucker, try to hit the string downward instead of upward. Which then leads me to the next dilemma. Do I leave this all stock and deal with that problem and work around it? Do I look into companies like Curtis Novak or whoever else, I think DiMarzio, whoever else makes this shape and this style pickup? Which I believe Curtis Novak makes like 3 different kinds. One of them is true to the original 60s. One of them is like a Dark Star thing and something else, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if that would fix the problem or not, so I think for now I'm gonna leave it. And just kind of deal with it, but I'll keep looking and keep my ear to the ground, as it were, on what I can potentially do to alleviate this problem. Now, I know that's, for some people, that's probably kind of a big issue, but I will say, other than for that little problem, the rest of the bass is rad. I really like the overall tone, the feel, the hollow body nature, or semi-hollow technically, is just really cool. And I love the color. I think the year later, in 2014, they came out with the Midtown Signature, which had the asymmetrical horns, which is also cool. I like this one better, but if an opportunity presents itself to get a 2014 Midtown Signature, I'm gonna jump on it, and it's probably either gonna be black or Pelham Blue. So that just about does it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Do you own one of these? Do you want one of these? Do you have a friend who owns one? You know what I'm trying to say. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And I guess with that, all I have to say is like, subscribe, all that other YouTube stuff, and I will see you next time.